Welcome back, guys. This is my spoiler review for Robert Eggers' new movie, The Northman. The Northman is a savage, brutal, animalistic, primal film. It is a savage, savage tale. It's all about revenge. It's set in old Vikings times. You've got Alexander Skarsgård, just perfectly cast. This is the big, giant, chiseled, savage, war, killing Viking man. He's got a big accent. He's screaming and going like, rah, 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 rah. The film is like 90% people just going, rah, 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 and it's spectacular. Like, Robert Eggers is now becoming easily one of the best directors in Hollywood. He is spectacular. He always has such a unique, interesting visual flair and style to the film. Like, so many shots and moments in this film just stood out as just being like so breathtaking, so brutal, so raw, so powerful. Like, so much of this film, I was just sitting there just kind of giggling to myself in the cinema, just being like, this is so good. Like, he has just got such a command of what he wants the film to look like, how he wants the film to feel. Overall, I think this film is almost more of a feeling than anything else, because the story, it's like pretty bare bones. Alexander Skarsgård's a kid, and he's like, I love my father, he's the best dad in the world. And the dad's like, if I ever die, you better avenge me, or you won't go to Valhalla, and your life in the afterlife will suck. You'll suck. Better avenge me. Immediately is killed. And, it's like, oh no, it's his brother, and, all that kind of stuff. We've seen it a million times. Oh, he's there to save his mother. Oh no, his mother's also bad. All of this is kind of predictable and by the numbers, but it's how the movie makes you feel when it's doing these moments. Like, there was just so much kind of powerful emotion and just this raw, primal, savage, animalistic feeling throughout the whole film. This just like savage feeling of this really down-to-earth, grisly, just of a film. And then kind of mixed together with this spiritual, kind of otherworldly, supernatural feeling. And it just really captured this kind of otherworldly, intense feeling of just like, I felt so kind of uneasy at points, and just this bizarre, like, there'd be moments where, like, this movie has just him grabbing a big magical sword, and sometimes he can't get the magical sword out of the scabbard, because it's all magical and it can only be wielded at the right points when there's lava flowing everywhere and there's a big, great jewel of massive proportions, and all this insane kind of like almost hokey stuff. But in the film, it's so real, it's so powerful. And I just kind of love how the film kind of toys with little moments. Like, there's a bit when he gets the big magical sword of destiny and wonder and all this amazing stuff to kill the evil brother. And there's a skeleton there, and a skeleton rises, and it's an undead warrior, and it can't go into this like light that's shining down in this one little area, and it's this amazing fight. And then, it kind of cuts when he beats it, he beheads it, and all this stuff. And then it kind of pans back, and he just kind of grabs the sword, and the skeleton just kind of crumbles, once it lets go of the sword. And it's just kind of like, wait, so was that just kind of like in his mind of what he thought was going to happen? Did that happen? But like, it's very kind of like, things will happen, and, there are ravens and ravens or crows or, little black birds. And he, at one point, like, it stands there and he's like, Father, and he, there's all these kind of things. And then at one point he's tied up and the birds all peck his restraints and, save him and kind of free him. And it's kind of like, that's not just birds. Like, also those CGI birds looked incredible, because you probably can't train crows and or ravens or whatever they are to do that, I presume. There was like 6 of them just kind of doing all this stuff. So amazing CGI, looks really, really good. But yeah, just kind of really like vague, kind of like, okay, is that the gods? Is that spirits? Is that his dad? Like, what are these crows doing? Or ravens or whatever they are. What's going on with all this stuff? And then you see at times like Odin, there's points where like Valkyrie is like charging into the heavens, and then it cuts to him and he's just like, hasn't gone to heaven yet, but then later, he does get ascended into heaven with Valkyries riding in big, just shiny lights and heavenly Valhalla stuff and the gates and just all this spiritual stuff. But it's kind of, it's not like, this is what's happening, there's a god man and he's like, you're the man and you can do this quest and here's your magical sword, dude. And it's just very like kind of vague in its spirituality, which I just absolutely loved. This film is brutal. It is savage, it is violent, it is horrifically gory. The first hour, like, not so gory, like some gory bits, because, you know, Vikings and stabbing and, you know, all that kind of stuff for most of the film. But that last 45 minutes just kind of loses its mind. Like, there's just some shots in there where it's just like, holy moly, this just got so gory. Robert Eggers has such a good way of kind of crafting and kind of, you know, showing the violence where it's not kind of battering you and making you feel like, oh, it's just too gory, it's too much. Like, each moment of violence and gore is still very, very shocking and horrifying in its kind of brutality. Even though this entire world is very, very brutal, there never gets to a point where like, yeah, of course it's brutal, because they're Vikings, it's savage. Each time it is continuously shocking and horrifying, and it just kind of builds and builds and builds. The film just looks spectacular. Like, not pretty much, every single shot is a masterpiece. That final fight scene with the lava and the ashes of flames and everything going and the two Vikings fighting, just incredible. Especially that one shot that starts the battle, like, just so cool, so amazing. Such a brilliant kind of just visual feast for the eyes. I did kind of think there were a few moments in the film, like the big fight at the battle by, you know, at the volcano. It's kind of like, there's a moment where they're both just facing each other. He's killed his mum and the other son, and he's standing there, and him and the guy could have the fight then, but because Robert Eggers wants to have them fight next to a volcano like it's Revenge of the Sith, he's like, we're not going to fight here, we're going to fight by the gates of hell in like, I don't know, 3 days or whatever. And it's like, why? Alexander Skarsgård is like right there. He's been stabbed a bunch, like he's totally weak. Just kill him now. Just kill him now. Like, but no, movie needs to have a big Revenge of the Sith final duel by fire and lava and volcanoes and stuff. So they just go, we'll fight later. There's a couple of moments like that where it's just like, I feel like narratively, things could have been a little more satisfying. Like, halfway through the film, he has the magical sword of destiny, and he's trying to open it, and he's like, whoa, that's right, of course I can't kill him now, because it said that I was going to have to fight him by a big volcano of doom and destruction, and I can't go against fate. Magical, spiritual stuff, and at that one point, I felt like the magical, spiritual side of it was a bit kind of like, oh, this feels kind of a bit narratively unsatisfying, because like, oh, because of fate I can't kill him, when you could just go up to him and kill him. And then for the rest of the film, before that kind of big duel at the end, he's like tormenting and, you know, screwing with him by killing people and, you know, being like a secret spy at the village and killing all these people and doing all this stuff to like really get to the king, get to the evil brother that he wants to kill. And I just think narratively, it would be way more satisfying and way more kind of, you know, gratifying for the audience and for the character to have him have character motivation that isn't just, oh, the fates are making me, oh, I may as well just do this then. It's like, no, he should be like, I could kill him right now with my magical sword of destiny. Because he could just grab any sword. Like, he's just like, who cares about the fate stuff? Like, I don't know, it just felt like, I think it would just make more sense for the character to be like, you know, Anna Taylor-Joy could be like, you should kill him now. Why don't you kill him now? He's like, no, I want to bide my time. I've got all the time in the world. I'm going to torture him. I'm going to slowly pick off everyone. I'm going to make him wish he was dead. Then I'll kill him. And then you could kind of, it would be more of a character beat. It would make more sense for the character to kind of gone so far that he wants to kind of torment this man who's ruined his life. Because I think for the most part, it worked really, really well when it was kind of doing the primal, animalistic stuff. You know, right at the start of the film, Willem Dafoe is like the jester fool, and he's like, boo, 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 but he's also like a spiritual man. And he does this big spiritual dance sequence thingy, and they're all dancing on the floor like wolves, and all of that worked really, really, really well. But then, yeah, towards the end, I just felt like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know, I feel like if he just had more motivation, more kind of character purpose and choices, rather than kind of it being up to the fate of the gods, that would have kind of been more interesting. But really, that's kind of my only big nitpick of the film, and it is a nitpick, because this film, as I said, isn't really about the story. It's more about, like, you know, it's not about the little finer details. It's about the feeling and the emotion as we go through this tale of revenge. And it really is just as simple as that. It's a tale of revenge, and it is savage and brutal and vicious and angry and mean, but also, you know, with like laid with spirituality. So I do understand why I kind of wanted to focus on that, and that kind of led the story for a lot of it. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm a little mixed on that. Ethan Hawke as the father at the start of the film, the Ned Stark of this story. And he's like, oh, I'm the best, wisest father in the world, and I love you, son. Oh no, I'm dead. Oh, beginning of story, inciting incident, that whole, you know, thingy. you know, you've seen a film before, you get it. He was amazing. His voice and gravitas, like just that first scene where the little kid's like, Dad's coming home, oh, he's coming home. And then you see him riding up, just like on the horse, just him looking about on the horse. I was just like, I'm in. I'm just in. Like, this guy's so good. Really disappointed he died so early. Would have just loved him to be in the film more. I felt like, you know, when his brother is kind of now the main antagonist for the film, that actor didn't really do anything for me. Like, you know, it was nice and cool, you know, in some scenes, like there was a bit of ferocious viciousness to him, that Viking vibe, you know. But overall, I just found him a bit like, nah, he's fine. Ethan Hawke just had more gravitas for me, and I really just preferred his performance, and was kind of like, I don't know, you need that dad to be likable, so you're on Alexander Skarsgård's side, and being like, no, oh no, the dad died. But I just feel like compared to the brother, I'm like, who cares about this brother? He's just kind of like a nothing villain, and I didn't really care for him. Nicole Kidman, on the other hand, was quite interesting. At first, when she appeared, I'm like, oh, okay. Weird casting. That's interesting. But by the end of the film, I really enjoyed her character. She has, oh, I'm Cersei Lannister. I'm as evil, or maybe more evil than, you know, the other guy. He's like, I did all of this. I'm Lady Macbeth or whatever. And it's pretty entertaining. She gets absolutely stabbed, which is really crazy. It was just so surreal to see him just stab the shit out of Nicole Kidman. But yeah, she was really good. I mostly enjoyed her performance. All the other guys, you know, like the other son that's like, ooh, I'm snotty and rich and you know, I'm high and mighty. He was fine. I don't know. A lot of the side guys were just fine. Really, it's Alexander Skarsgård that kind of carries this film. His performance and just that kind of savage brutality that he brings, and just this intense, like, oh, I just gotta get my revenge. And then we kind of have a bit of a love story with Anna Taylor-Joy, who is always the best. She's, you know, good in this. She's not like her best performance. There's just no Queen's Gambit, but she's still really, really good because she's just an amazing performer. I found their love story a bit kind of like, okay, yeah, I guess I buy it because there's two very, very sexy people in this village of, you know, dirty Vikings. So I guess it makes sense on that level. And they both want to escape. They're bonding over trying to escape and revenge and all this stuff. But generally, like, not much romance there. And, you know, he kind of is like, oh, okay, I'll just go away with you. There is one absurd, insane moment as well when he totally could have killed them and everything, but he's like, I'll run away with you and we'll run away and, you know, be happy. Then he, like, kisses her and then it gets all spiritual and weird again. And he's like, oh my God, you're pregnant. I could tell when I kissed the blood on your neck. Ooh, you're pregnant. And then he's like, even though the guy would have no idea that you're pregnant and there's no way he'd ever find out, he's stuck on this island in Iceland, he's definitely going to find out and track us down and try and kill us. Even though we could just have different names. Like, I don't know why. Just insane. And then he's just like, I'm just going to jump off this boat. He's not even like, hey, could you just like sail back around? It'll take you like half an hour to like sail back. It's going to take me like 5 days to swim back. He just swims back. The shore was so far away. And it looked like a giant cliff edge. So the shore's probably even further where he could just get off and walk up off the water. But I don't know. That just seemed obscene to me. But I guess he's, you know, driven by revenge. And he's like, I'll swim 1,000,000 kilometers. But, like, I think he probably would have drowned, realistically. A really interesting visual thing I noticed was, you know, when you see nighttime scenes, most films, it's just, like, very, very blue. Like, nighttime is always very, very blue. In this film, the nighttime scenes almost felt like they're being turned into black and white. Like, so many times at night, I'm like, is this just, like, black and white now? But then you'd see fire, and the fire would just be so red and so bright and vibrant, lighting up the night sky. And it was just a really great kind of visual like style and feeling over the whole film to have this almost desaturated black and white darkness kind of feeling to all the nighttime scenes. There was just such a brilliant use of fire and red kind of shining and brightening up scenes and stuff. Just such a great contrast to the night skies, to the night, like just to the darkness of the whole thing. Really, really great. It just completely stood out to me. The other thing that stood out to me was the insane, amazing close-ups. They happened a lot of the time when there's big spiritual stuff, like when William Dafoe is all like, I'm a spiritual jester, fool man, ba ba ba, and he's doing a whole thing, and it's just like a close-up of his face, close-up of like Ethan Hawke, Alexander Skarsgård as a kid, and just like so close, like I was sitting pretty close in the cinema. Like when I sat down, like the cinema was pretty much starting. So I sat down and was like, wait, I might be like 1 or 2 rows too close. Like I'm quite close. But then almost immediately we've got these giant close-ups and I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen a face this big in my life. And it was just gorgeous. Like it just was so consuming the way the film was so close at times, so claustrophobic on people's faces with these big chanting, screaming kind of primal moments. And I just found it utterly compelling, so captivating. I'm terrified to watch it on a smaller screen because it had such power with such a big screen showing such kind of intense kind of, visuals. Like just that first shot of the volcano and he's all like, oh, Odin's son, oh, revenge, whatever, dialogue he said at the start. And just that shot of the volcano, just so big, so powerful. Absolutely loved it. The cinematography was flawless. It was just exceptional. The soundtrack as well was so good. Such a great kind of that Norse Viking feeling. Really reminded me of when I was watching like when Vikings would really get a good soundtrack going and really great kind of feeling to it. That with people smashing their swords on their shields and screaming and chanting and just going full savage. Absolutely loved it. There's a scene that I really enjoyed where they suddenly just start playing this Viking game that's like a mix between hockey and just, I don't know, I guess it's kind of like hockey. There's a ball and they're pretty much just punching each other and, doing this kind of stuff, and it was just absolutely savage. But I was really, really impressed with their skills because, instead of like in football, you got to get it through the post, kick the ball through the posts, big gap. They have to hit a post, just a single post, and they're like hitting a ball like it's hockey, and they're just hitting the post. Like, obviously, it was probably just a CGI ball at a certain point. CGI's just gotten that good, we can't really tell. But I was just like, even just in story, like, these guys are really good at this game. Very, very impressed by their abilities in this sport. Just, I guess they've got nothing else to do but just hit the big ball to a stick. Like, there's not much to do back in Viking times. I guess they didn't have Netflix. The action is almost entirely shot from kind of like big wides or kind of mid shots. It's never shaky running about the place. It's always just kind of like, here, look at them. And it's just like, very, very well choreographed, very well staged, so brutal. At times kind of like, it's not like fast and frenetic. There'd be like two men and it's very like, not slow, but kind of, it has this methodical pace to it. The way that like each swing is just like a giant piece of metal that is just going to like kill the other man if it hits, and often it's hitting, and it just has this really, really great vibe. The whole film just has such a great feeling and vibe to it. My favorite part, which is pretty much the first action scene, is they're all sneaking up to this one place, and a guy throws a spear from the tower at the wall, and Alexander Skarsgård just catches the spear and just hurls it back, and they charge. And he climbs up the wall, jumps over. There's a very clever kind of, trick through the wall where it looked, keep feeling like a one shot. And then he jumps down on the thing. Just a brilliant start to an action scene. So good. There's such a great kind of momentous feeling and just building, like this kind of slow dreading, like boom, 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 as everything kind of builds up in all the action scenes. It's really, really great. I was kind of just in awe, in horror and awe for most of the film with just all the action. It's so savage. It really depicts that kind of brutal, harsh life of these Vikings, always hunting, looking for blood, wanting to die in battle. It really showcases that in a really interesting way. It's pretty damn good. I loved all the Norse mythology, Vikings, Valhalla, all that stuff. It's all really, really great. Robert Eggers is once again just produced a spectacular film that is kind of unlike anything else. It does a story that is not, it's like, we've seen it before. It's a revenge tale. Everyone's seen 100 of these, but have you seen one directed by Robert Eggers? Because that's what he's bringing. He's bringing his own visual style and flair and just feeling as a filmmaker. And he's probably like an auteur or whatever. Like, I don't know how you can define that or whatever, but his films are now becoming, like, I don't think it's as good as The Lighthouse, but I liked it a lot more than The Vitch. But all three films, just a very good filmmaker who knows exactly what he wants from the film and exactly how he wants you to feel at the end. And once again, he's done it again. Robert Eggers has done it again. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I'd love to know what everyone thinks of The Northman.